Now let's talk about why you would need a sound card, an external one. As you might already know, every computer today, almost every computer has a sound card in it. And you can, consider that your phone also has a sound card in it that can just like do more or less things that your computer sound card can do. Now, why would you need a better one? Well, a sound card has many components in it, which we will talk about soon in one of the next lessons. Now, your sound card is the component in your computer that takes all of those ones and zeros, that stream of bits, and turns that into sound by using digital to analog conversion. When mixing with a really high quality sound card, there are many things to consider as benefits, and that is that many of the components in a professional sound card are much better. Its inputs, outputs, the clock, that digital to analog and analog to digital converters are much better. So if you really think of producing music professionally, then at a really early point in time in that progress, you should get a professional sound card, at least a sound card with a bit more quality than the one that's integrated into your computer. Now, why is this necessary? Well, the precision that this high quality sound card works at is much better than the integrated sound card on your computer. The inputs and the outputs, as I've mentioned, are much better on that one. So if you're planning on using microphones or you're planning on recording anything, and even when playing back anything, well, a high quality sound card will give you a much better result. When you consider your digital audio workstation, your DAW, it actually comprises of that digital audio workstation, that program you're using to sequence, mix, and master music. Also, one of the main components in that system is a sound card, as well as you need a graphics card to display something onto a screen. So the computer has to have a graphics card so that he could turn that streams of ones and zeros into video information that you can actually see. The same analogy can be used for a sound card. It's a component in a computer. Sound card is used to actually, convert a stream of ones and zeros, that digital information of bits, into analog information that we can actually hear through our speakers or headphones. And they do that using digital to analog converters, or in the next case, analog to digital converters, because sound cards are also used to convert analog signals into digital signals using analog to digital converters. If we want to record something into our computer, we need to have inputs in our sound card. Well, if we input analog signal into a sound card, the sound card will convert that into digital, give it to the computer so that it can write it down. If we provide a digital signal straight away, it's just going to take that, give it to the computer, and it serves as a gateway that computer uses to handle sound. Same thing goes for the sound that needs to come out of the computer. So we would send the digital data from the computer to the sound card via a USB, Thunderbolt, or Firewire interface, and then the sound card would convert that into analog signals using the digital to analog converter, and then that sound would be sent through the outputs of the sound card into our speakers, and we would hear it. One other thing to mention on inputs of our sound card, where we input signals into it, if it's an analog signal like a guitar or a keyboard, well, those things already have a signal that once you plug it in, it works. It's already at a proper level, at a proper volume, so that we can digitalize it and use it. But if we're talking about microphones, we usually need a preamp. And what a preamp is, it's an amplification device that we use to amplify the signal of a microphone. Since, as I explained to you in the lesson before, that I told you was really important for everything that comes next, those signals coming from the microphones being produced by moving the membrane, which in turn moves the coil attached to the membrane, which is in a magnetic field, and that induces electricity inside of it. Electric signals that we get from a microphone are really low in volume. So in order to boost those up, gain those up, that we could actually have a sound that we can hear and record, we use preamps. And preamps are just amplifiers that do that job specifically well, boosting up microphone input signals without boosting all the noise that also come, with them.
Now, most of the modern sound cards have a preamp on their selected inputs that we use to record microphones. So these are now a part of our sound cards.
We will get to know those much more once we start talking about microphones and how we use those. But those are the basic concepts of a sound card. So a sound card is a component of a computer that turns digital into analog, or analog into digital is actually an interface that allows you to create sound from digital signals. Now, sound cards can come in different shapes and forms. They could be internal, like the ones that are already integrated into your motherboard in your computer, or the ones integrated into your phone, and you just have an output jack where you can actually plug something in and listen to it. But they could be external. So it could be an external piece of hardware, a box that you would connect to your computer via any standard interface like USB, Firewire, Thunderbolt. And that allows the computer to integrate that piece of hardware into its routine. So that way you're integrating that sound card and using that sound card as the computer's interface for sound. How do we use all those sound cards? Well, as I mentioned before, as for graphics cards, network cards, whatever other component of a computer, for any other external component or an internal component in a computer, we need drivers. What drivers are a piece of software that tell our operating system on our computer, whether it's Windows or
Mac OS
or Linux, it's a driver that tells our computer how to communicate with the device, with the sound card, with the graphics card. For any one of those additional devices, you need a driver that's going to tell the computer how to communicate with it. It's going to tell the computer what that sound card has, in a sense of inputs, outputs, how to send it signal, how to receive signal from it. So a driver is actually the connection, a piece of software that makes a connection of the operating system in a computer with your device, with your hardware device, so that they can work together. Basically, whenever you get your sound card, you need to install that driver. You need to install that piece of software so that your computer can actually use that sound card. Whether it's external or internal, you always have to do that. After you've done that, now you have a sound card on your computer. What you would like to do next, most probably, is connect your peripherals to it. So that would mean your speakers, so that when you play sound, you would actually hear something, because a sound card by itself just emits sound, but if there is nothing plugged into it, you cannot hear it. So you would most probably connect your speakers to your sound card. You would connect your microphones or your guitar, whatever you intend on using. And different sound cards have different inputs and outputs and standards. Mostly you would not have a problem with that. You would check out what your sound card has as an output, a TRS or XLR, and you would check what's on your speaker, and you would find a cable that can connect two of those, connect them, play some music, and that would be that. So what you would do is you would connect your speakers to the main output on your sound card. And that is basically always marked in a sense. So you could use any output out of your sound card, most probably, depending on the drivers and the setup and the capabilities of your sound card. But usually consumer electronics sound cards, you have that main output that is going to produce sound. So when you play something, you hear it. It's usually well marked as the main out. So you would connect your speakers to the main out of your sound card. Now, for the inputs on a sound card, they differ. You have inputs for your microphones, you have line inputs that we talked about, line inputs for, let's say, a guitar or a keyboard or any other external sound producing equipment like samplers or many other things. We will talk about those in the future lessons. And when you plug those all in, you have your digital audio workstation set up. The next thing you should do is optimize that setup. To optimize your sound card is a broad term, but what we will be dealing with mostly is the buffer size. Now, what a buffer is actually a memory block that's being processed
at a time. So if that memory block is bigger, the computer handles it more easily. So if we want to do a lot of CPU intensive processing, the bigger buffer is going to be better for us. But in turn, we sacrifice responsiveness, meaning that the latency, and that is the term for how late anything we do is in the computer practically, meaning that once we record something, that something is recorded into the computer with a certain time delay, with a certain latency, or any parameter we move inside any of the plugins that process our sound is also going to be late by that same amount. So here you can see that buffer size is 1024 samples, and those are the samples, if you remember, that we refer to of those 44,100 samples every second. This is how big that buffer is. So the computer is taking blocks of 1024 samples each time, process those, and then another one, and another one, and another one. Now, the bigger the buffer size, less strain on your CPU, but everything you do comes with a latency. If you want to record something, that might pose a problem, because you would play the track that you have and you want to record something on top of that. If that's something you're recording, you want to hear it through the computer, meaning that, let's say I'm recording a guitar, and on the channel where I'm recording the guitar, I have some effects, and I want to hear my guitar with those effects, meaning that I'm monitoring, that's a new term, monitoring, actually listening to the guitar I'm recording through the computer. So the guitar signal goes into the computer, gets digitalized, and then I hear it back with all of the music together, again being transferred from digital to analog. That takes some time, meaning that anything I play, I hear it some milliseconds, let's say 49.3 milliseconds later. That would confuse you wildly when playing, if everything you play just comes out of your headphones or speakers a couple of moments later. Actually, now we know exactly how much time later, 49.3 milliseconds, but that would confuse you wildly. And playing and recording like that, or singing and recording like that with that much latency, virtually impossible. So what we would do is we would lower the latency by lowering the buffer size from 1024 samples to a less value, meaning that everything we do is processed by the computer really fast. But we cannot strain the CPU with so many plugins, because as you will see, the lower your buffer size is, lower the latency, of course, but your CPU is going to be struggling. You're going to see way more load on this CPU meter here, or wherever that CPU meter is in Logic, Cubase, whatever other digital audio workstation that you're using. But the general rule is that. So that is how the buffer size and the latency works in any digital audio workstation that you might encounter. Now, the optimal size for me, being that I don't record that much, is mainly 1024 samples in size. Whenever I want to record something, I just lower that to the lowest possible value, where I can actually lower the buffer size, hit play, and nothing stutters, meaning my CPU doesn't go into an overload and starts clicking, stuttering, and making crazy noises. And you can just try that out. So, meaning, try out this buffer size, lower buffer size, and the lower you go, the more strain on your CPU. But if your computer can handle it, kudos, that's good. Leave it there, record what you need. The moment you hear your computer struggling, bear in mind that it could be the buffer size disabling it, meaning that it might not be your computer that is really slow. It might be that your computer is really fast, but once you overload it with a lot of really high demanding audio processing plugins, that is going to be a problem for it. So you can just up the buffer size and relieve yourself of that problem once you're, of course, done recording. And in that way, you can practically do both of those things by knowing how to manipulate settings of your sound card. Now, the sampling frequency, the sampling rate that we set for our project is going to set up our sound card, of course, and our driver to work at 44,100 hertz. And we can set it to a higher value if we want to work at a higher sampling rate, and our sound card supports that. But as I've told you, human ears usually don't recognize anything above that, and that's not the sole point. There is quality to be gained, certain quality to be gained from working with higher sample rates, but it takes a tremendous toll on your CPU. Going above 44,100 hertz means that there are more samples for each second that we play music, and on a lot of channels. So choosing the double of that would actually mean the double strain in your CPU almost for any process we have. So for any effect that we are using, any EQ, anything we do is going to take a much higher CPU toll. So working at higher than 44,100 hertz, I wouldn't recommend it. So everything I work on is 44,100. If it's something for video, sound for video, it's usually at 48 because that's the standard most commonly used for video production, but that's basically it. 44,100 hertz is the standard, and not to go into resampling after the fact. So once we made a song at, let's say, 88,200 hertz and we wanted to give that song to somebody to listen, we would usually have to downsample it to 44,100. So there is no need almost for you to do that. So I think the best result is for music production for you to use 44,100 because that is the quality at which you would have to export your song in the end. Now, what I have told you so far about the buffer size and the latency and the impact it has on the CPU, that still stands for any driver type you select. As you can see in Ableton, we can choose between no audio, MME and DirectX combo, and ASIO. ASIO meaning audio streaming input-output, which is a trademark of Steinberg Technologies from Germany. They also make Cubase. Now, I would advise you to always use ASIO drivers for your sound card. These have the lowest latency, and they also put the least strain on your CPU. Using ASIO means that you just choose an ASIO device on your computer and use that one. Everything else, meaning the setup, the buffer size, is being done inside the controls, and those controls are provided by the driver of your sound card. Now, most of the sound cards do come with their own ASIO drivers, but if your sound card doesn't have an ASIO driver, or if you choose not to purchase an external or an internal professional sound card for the time being, and you want to use your internal sound card, all you need to do is go to asioforall.com, to this link, and download this ASIO for All. It's a universal driver for most of the sound cards that have a WDM, a Windows driver model, a driver for your sound card, and that the system, the operating system, and most of the Windows now are compatible with those drivers. So if you don't have it, ASIO for All is a good solution for you. So you have an ASIO driver, smaller latency, better control over your hardware, and if your sound card does not come with an ASIO driver straight from the manufacturer, this is a really, really good alternative. Now, if I choose the MME DirectX combo, aside of being able to control the buffers, input and output buffer right here, I can also choose different audio input and audio output devices, meaning that I can have different device on my computer, a different sound card being used for the input, let's say my USB microphone, and for the output, a completely different device like my RME sound card. ASIO driver is always going to be your best bet. Also, you can control your channel configuration, inputs and outputs. This is how many inputs I have on my sound card, and this is how many outputs I have on my sound card. I can activate or deactivate those, so I would use them or not use them. And if I deactivate them, they are actually not going to be shown on any of the menus where I can choose different outputs. So these are the basics that you need to know about setting up your sound card so that you can effectively use it while producing.